Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to go over some things about the completion of a well for oil and gas, and then talk a little bit about packers. This is obviously relating to Zion Oil and Gas, and I obviously have never done any type of drilling or anything like that. So this whole process has been not only not just frustrating for me, it's been really an informative one too, because every time something happens that I don't understand, I get to do some research, get to learn about it, and that's what I want to pass on to you guys. So I watched a video that's roughly about an hour or so long. I'm going to link it in the description below if you want to watch the full thing. I just kind of took some key parts out of it that stuck out to me, and then I'm going to also play a video at the very end that goes over the full completion of the well, which a lot of you are probably already familiar with, but some people aren't, right? Some people are invested in the company and don't fully understand a lot of what's going on. Kind of like what I said is, there's a lot of things that I wasn't 100% familiar with, but as you do your research, you kind of understand how long some of these things take and all the process about that. So those of you who are familiar with the oil and gas industry, feel free to drop some comments below on some of the things we talk about as well. So the guy that was talking said that, when you're drilling down into the ground, it's kind of like, you think of it like a big wedding cake, is you have all these different layers, and you have a lot of cake and then a little bit of icing in between, and basically all the layers in the ground is the cake and the oil is the icing, and there's really not a whole lot of icing in between all those large thick layers. Okay, the drilling and the casing, they'll drill and then they'll case until the target zone is reached. After the drilling or during the drilling, casing can be used. Casing is a large steel tube used as a structural wall so the hole doesn't fall in on itself. They pump cement through the casing through the middle of the hole, and then they pump it up through the outside wall, which the video I'm going to show you in a second shows you all of this as well. Before you get to production, equipment is needed to put in place. Packers and bridge plugs are used to isolate specific zones downhole and control pressures and fluids, which is where we are now for Zion Oil and Gas, is they have to use special type of packers to come in to control pressure and fluids from these different zones. Casing has perforations with the uses of a perforation gun, which you're going to see in that video as well, to invite oil through the well bore. And basically they shoot a little gun out and they create some little holes to where oil can flow from the bottom or from the sides into there and then up towards the top of the rig. Okay, so why use a packer? Packers help isolate where fluid is allowed to flow and allow hydrocarbons to come to the surface in a controlled manner. It also allows us to connect to our tubing and Christmas tree into our pipeline or storage tanks. Tubing is hollow and helps hold all of the equipment together. Area between the outside of the tubing and inside of the casing is called the annulars or annulus. Common type of packers you have are mechanical packers, hydraulic packers, permanent packers, service tool, and retrievable plugs. The mechanical packers physical manipulation for a packer from the surface. Hydraulic they're using isolation zones without physical manipulation by increasing pressure on the tubing. Both are retrievable packers, which mean you can put them in and you can take them out when you wish. And I'm assuming this is the type that they're using again. Similar to what they did in MJ01, as you saw in some of the previous updates from a couple of years ago. They talked about how it took about 4 days to put it in, 4 days to take it out if they failed and stuff like that. So permanent packers are ones in which they sound exactly like what it's meant to sound like. They're permanent. You put them in and they're there. Okay, they're made of cast iron and they're not intended on being retrieved out. And then you have service tools, which are heavy duty and used for rugged use. And then this is some more information on the mechanical packers. Their main components are elements, big rubber donuts, and then they're used to compress and seal the casing to prevent fluid flow, and they have slips and anchors to prevent movement. So when you go down and you put the packer down, there's these rubber elements, or there's rubber elements or donuts on the side that'll basically block off anything from flowing to the top outside of that packer and that tubing, and then the anchors are going to help, like when you go down, they're going to latch on and help prevent it from continuing to slide down. It's going to hold it in place. Okay, so that's just kind of some quick notes that I took from that video. Like I said, it's linked in the description below. I'm going to now play a video that I took from YouTube that goes over the completion of the well, and it talks a little bit about packers as well. So I thought it was very informative. Take a look at it. It's about 5 to 6 minutes long. So if you have that time to take a look, it's good to kind of see it like an animation, and they actually explain what's going on as well. So I hope this helps, guys. Have a great day. Other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.
Once the surface section of the well is drilled, the drill pipe is pulled out of the hole in order to lay the casing. This is done for environmental reasons to hydraulically seal the formation layers containing aquifers from the flowing hydrocarbons later on, once the well is completed. The casing string is made of numerous joints the same size screwed together at the collar. The casing pipe is selected according to its outer diameter, its wall thickness, its length, its weight by unit length, and the grade of steel it is made of. The selection of grade of casing depends on several variables, including the size of the hole, the rugosity of the drilled hole, the expected pressure of the flowing hydrocarbons, the H2S content, as well as the economic considerations. Once the entire weight of the casing string is solely suspended by the hangers, the casing is considered laid in place. In order to secure the laid casing string to the formation, cement is pumped through the casing shoe at the bottom of the well, letting the cement flow between the casing and the formation. To allow further operations in the well, the cement requires sufficient curing time. Once the cement has dried, the seal of the aquifers would be established. The drilling then continues through the wiper plug, the casing shoe, and the cement at the bottom of the hole until the desired depth is reached. This is called total depth, or TD, and is where the pay zone is anticipated. To evaluate the presence and economic feasibility of this pay zone, the drill pipe could be equipped with logging while drilling tools to evaluate the formation while drilling. It is a common practice to lower wireline logging tools to evaluate the formation and determine the economic feasibility of the drilled well. This is done by logging the anticipated pay zone through various types of sensors to determine the key properties of the zone. After the pay zone has been determined and deemed feasible, the wall needs to be prepared to extract the discovered hydrocarbons. This process is known as the completion of a well. A common completion method requires inserting a casing string into the newly drilled open hole to prevent the borehole wall from caving prematurely during the various steps of completion. To allow further operations in the well, the cement requires sufficient curing time. The cementing process is not always a flawless operation, and the resulting cementing job might contain some bonding issues that would undermine the strength and integrity of the casing, especially during perforation. The bond of this cement with the formation and with the casing is evaluated using a cement evaluation wireline tool. This tool determines whether the cement job is optimal. If not, further remedial operations are required. To establish a path with the hydrocarbons stored in the pay zone, a perforating gun is now lowered to the target depth. Wireline is the preferred conveyance method for short and light gun strings. To deploy long and heavy gun strings, a technique referred to as tubing conveyed perforating, or TCP, is required. Using sensors part of the gun string, the guns can be accurately positioned in front of the targeted reservoir. The charges in the gun are now ready to be ignited using the surface perforating control equipment. Once the correct depth has been confirmed, the gun is fired. The charges in the gun explode, providing a path through the formation, the cement, and the casing to the production tubing. The perforating gun is then pulled out of the hole. Now, the weld is perforated and the path has been established between the stored hydrocarbons and the weld bore. While the drilling rig is still in place, production tests are performed to confirm the commercial viability of the reservoir before the production string is installed in the well. A typical production string is made of a tubing string that includes a packer near the bottom end. The production packer is installed above the top of the perforations to ensure that the flowing hydrocarbons reach the surface only through the production tubing. Before the drilling rig is dismantled and moved away to its next location, the wellhead equipment, commonly referred to as the Christmas tree, is installed on top of the well. With the well completed, the production of hydrocarbons can begin. These hydrocarbons will fill storage tanks or feed pipelines until the day when the production rate has diminished and the well is plugged and finally abandoned.